911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys tonight? Hey, Joy Smith, how are you? Welcome to Behind the Crime Door. Hi, John. Hi, Purdue RN. How are you, my dear? It's so good to see you here. Hi, Cindy Delafuente. So good to see you guys. Hey, Danger Dave. Hi, Aaron Godzinski. How are you? Hey, Pigeon Mac. Good to see you, my dear. I hope everybody had a good start to their weekend. It's turned really cold here again, and looks like we're going to be getting snow over the next few days, which is not uncommon for the Midwest. So we're coming to the close of January, and we've actually had a very mild winter. So let's hope the rest of it, next couple months, doesn't bring too much upon us. But one doesn't, one never knows for sure, correct? So was people out and about today enjoying the football? I was enjoying it for a while this afternoon and watched my basketball game that I needed to see and all of that good stuff. And then I was working on my live for a while. But the biggest thing that I did today was I got all of my Christmas down and put away. So that's all done for another year. So I'm one of those people that once I put it all up, I like to leave it up close to Epiphany, because you put it up, but you go through all that work, and it just, to me, it's just crazy to just tear it down right away. So I leave it up. I love the lights and the decorations anyway. So tonight we're going to talk about Delphi. The show is on Rick Allen. I've got a video that I'm going to show you, a short video. Well, it's actually about a 28-minute video, but we're not going to watch the whole thing. but we're going to watch some of it. My good friend from the Inquisitor is allowing me to show that to you guys on from his channel tonight. And I found the video extremely interesting, getting to see Rick Allen in a public setting where he's supposedly with friends, relaxing. I think that that's important in the scheme of all of this to kind of see that. And so I don't know if you guys have had a chance to, see it or not, but we're going to watch a little bit of that tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about the trial coming up. A few things that have gone on this week, a couple of things that didn't happen that we were told were going to happen. So I think that that's going to be kind of interesting as well. And, oh, Dave, I hope you don't lose the internet either. I hope not. But anyway, so I'm hoping that we have a lot of different topics to cover. I wanted to let you guys know I'm going to do a couple of case updates first, as I usually do. And the first one I'm going to do tonight, hold on, because I do want to present this. And I need to get this other up here on the screen. Hold on one minute, guys. Just need to move a couple things around here. If I can. There we go. So you guys remember we covered the case of the twins out of Ohio that were abducted. I'm trying to see if I can make this bigger. Give me a minute. There we go. And they were recovered. Well, the woman who was caught with them was indicted by a federal grand jury this week for kidnapping. These are the little boys that she took, and this is her, the suspect, and she is facing 40 years in prison for each count of the kidnapping of these little babies. We are so lucky that they're safe and sound, because one of the little boys, she left for hours in a freezing car outside a pizza place. And we are so very lucky that that little boy survived. So I thought that was interesting news that you guys might want to know. We're going to talk a little bit about Ronisha Mitchell. She's been missing since December 3rd of 2022 from Hampton, Virginia. She was born July 12th, 2008. She's now 14. She's female. She's black, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'4", 110 pounds. And she was last seen on December 3rd of 2022. She has not been seen or heard from since that date. And anyone with any information is urged to call 1-800-THE-LOST or the Hampton Police Department in Virginia at 757-727-6111. So I wanted to talk about that. And the one other thing that I wanted to talk about, we're going to go over, hold on just a second here. Yeah, there it is. I got it now. Let me stop my screen. Hey, Mindy, how are you? So Maddie Mogan's boyfriend posted a a post, and I wanted to read that to you guys because I think it's very important to hear what he has to say. So this is Maddie's boyfriend, and his name is Jake Schreiger. No words can describe the emotions that I'm going through at this time. I miss you so, so much. I will forever cherish the adventures that we got to experience together. More than you will ever know, I love you more than anything, Maddie. Never had I ever met a person so unbelievably beautiful, inside and out. You lift up every place you went with your smile and beauty. The love that you showed me was something I had never experienced before, and I appreciate what we had so much. I always questioned how I got so lucky with a girl like you. You showed me to appreciate the small things in life: talking, singing, dancing, laughing, kissing, and expressing our love for one another. Those are just some of the many things that I think of when remembering you. A 6-hour car ride couldn't affect the love we had for each other. I remember always being so excited to see you. The way that your face would light up when I finally got to see you and have you in my arms again. Every time we got together was so much fun, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. You were so ready to take on the world, and you were going to do such amazing things. I was so unbelievably excited for our future and the adventures to come. We had so much to experience. It's hard to picture life without you, but I will remember to keep my head up like you would want me to. You were my motivation to be the best version of me. You always pushed me to be more positive, friendly, and loving. And it wasn't just me. You were always a person for me, your friends, and your family to go to for anything they needed, whether it was someone to hug, a shoulder to lean on, or the best advice on any situation. I know that you're still up there watching over me, your family, and your friends, and I promise to make you proud from heaven and carry on your values of showing and spreading love to everyone. This is not a goodbye, but a see you soon. I love you so much, Maddie. Rest in paradise, my angel. Love, Jake. And he wrote that on the 19th of November, 2022. And I just thought that that was very touching to hear how he felt about Maddie and what he felt her contribution to the world was. It sounds like she was an amazing person. So, you know, I feel bad for all of the families and friends of the Idaho 4 victims, because they did have their whole lives ahead of them and they were just gone in an instant. And it's just so sad. So very sad. I did see a really interesting video that somebody has created and put out. Hey, Louisa, how are you? Hey, Sally, good to see you. I saw a video that somebody did, and it was a compilation of videos that Kaylee did of Murphy. And it's really well done. A lot of people are wondering if Murphy will be the smoking gun in the case, and if it's his hair that was found at BK's apartment. It'll be interesting to find that out. Um, so tonight, you guys, there is a couple things. Hold on one second. I just wanted to go over. I wanted to remind everybody as we go forward this year and we start looking at newer cases, we've got Delphi, of course. We've got the Idaho case. Both cases are going to be in court. And there'll be other cases, obviously, that come up that we're going to be talking about and covering. And I just wanted to remind everyone, this is something I was thinking about the past few days, is that every family of a missing person is going through the greatest loss of their lives and horrific tragedy. We can all choose to extend grace and assist them in finding their loved ones, or we can choose to compound their tragedy and put out content that is hurtful and damaging. And I just hope that everyone can make the right choice and the right decision. And when you watch that content, you're only making it worse. So I just hope that everyone can just make the right choices. Albert Einstein had a great quote, "What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right." And I think we just need to keep those thoughts in our minds. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you, my dear? It's so good to see you. It was just something, like I said, that I am going to be reminding people of probably as we go through the year. But we just need to keep that in mind and always remember that these cases that we're talking about and that I cover are real people and with real feelings, and these are real tragedies. So it's really important that we give them the respect and cover them with integrity. I wanted to remind everybody that the state of Utah versus Jared Lysick. Jared Lysick is the founder of Adventures with Purpose, who has been arrested and charged with rape. Jared is going to be in court for oral arguments in his case on Wednesday, March 8th of 2023 at 3 p.m. local Utah time. For anybody who's following that case and is interested in what's going on there. I understand, and I'm just going to put this out here because I have not listened to it. I try really not to listen to their podcast, but I understand that the Murder Sheet had a podcast this past week. It was an interview that they published with a practicing public defender in Indiana, and that the Indiana Supreme Court has previously ruled that tool mark evidence from an expended but unshot casing is very much admissible as evidence in court. So for everyone who's saying that this may not be admissible, I think that the Supreme Court has already upheld in the state of Indiana that it is. And it doesn't mean that the defense will not counter this evidence somehow and try to discredit it, because we know for a fact that's what they're going to do. But this is a big deal, and it's a precedent on one of the few pieces of direct evidence that we know about so far. We don't know if they have other direct evidence. Hey, Deb, how are you, my dear? Welcome. So good to see you. So they may have more physical evidence that we're unaware of, and we should find out possibly about more physical evidence once he has the bond hearing on February 17th. I recently rewatched basically a documentary that was done on O.J. Simpson and his case. I actually watched that case and followed that case live way back in the 90s when it was actually happening. And there's so much of it about it that I know that I really didn't need to get caught up on, but I thought it would be good for me to go back through and watch everything that I could, because my daughter and I are going to be covering it on my channel. We're going to go through the OJ case. And so I thought that that would be a good thing to do. And I just wanted to tell you guys that I'm really glad that I did. A couple of the jurors from the O.J. Simpson trial gave interviews to Kim Goldman, who is Ron Goldman's sister. And Ron Goldman was one of the victims in the O.J. case, and he was killed that same night that O.J.'s ex-wife was. And on her podcast, after almost 28 years, these jurors decided to speak out, and some of the points that they made is truly eye-opening. Besides the evidence itself in the case, these are some of the things that did influence the jurors. And I think it's interesting to listen to jurors when they talk about cases after the fact. We can learn a lot about what they're thinking, what their mindset was, and what led them to come to the verdicts that they finally come to. As we all know, in Delphi, we are going to have a sequestered jury. They are going to be bringing jurors in from another county. And because they're going to do that, and it'll be farther away, they will have to house them. And they will be not able to, read, watch TV, see anything that's going to have an impact on them while they are deliberating, and while they're listening to the evidence being given to them in court every day, and then at the point where they are turned over to deliberate the case. In the OJ case, these two jurors that were interviewed by Kim Goldman said that the jurors felt they were too restricted. It affected them all greatly. It affected their mental health. Now, O.J. Simpson's case is a huge case in history. It was the first time that the general public in this country was allowed into the courtroom to the degree that it was. We had a front row seat every single day at all of the proceedings, because there was a camera for the first time in the courtroom. We got to hear everything that was going on in that case. That case took 8 months. It was incredible, the length of that trial and all of the evidence and all of the experts that had to be gone through, both for the prosecution as well as the defense. Everyone is aware, I'm sure, and if not, O.J. Simpson had an amazing defense team, very high-powered lawyers who were very well known in their different sections of the law. And they had some of the absolute best forensic specialists and pathologists in the world, and it really did make a difference. But with all of that being said, these jurors, like I said, the trial took 8 months. The jurors were very restricted, and it had an effect on all of them. They spent literally no time in deliberation, because they all wanted to just simply get out. And they said that they came into that jury room when they first sat down to deliberate. They decided rather than start deliberating right away, they were going to do a straw poll and see where everyone was thinking at that point before they even began. And it was I think I'm almost want to say it was 10-1 or 10-2 or even 11-1. I think they had one juror or two that were not voting for acquittal. So right off the bat, they saw that, everybody was pretty much on the same page. So then they started discussing what was going on, and one thing led to another. There was not a single piece of evidence that was discussed by the jury. For months, they were locked in a hotel room. They were given nice dinners and all, but that wasn't enough. They felt like they were in a prison, and they talked about that. They got no news. They had no access and only very limited contact with family. And they were able to watch movies, and they did take them out on little jaunts now and then to do fun things like go to a ball game or something like that. But there was a lot of them that didn't like each other. So when you put those kinds of people together that don't know any each other, whatever, and you put them in close proximity where you're, housing them on a floor in a hotel, and they're only able to interact with each other at dinner and whenever they have movie time or whatever, that's pretty restrictive, you guys. The order of the evidence presented, one of the jurors said towards the end of the trial that they resented going in the courtroom and that they almost forgot about all of the DNA evidence because they were presented at the very beginning of the trial. And so when you have these long trials, and you have all this bunch of evidence that has to be gone through, you have whatever's presented at the very beginning. It's very easy for the jurors to lose sight of that and forget about what's being told to them. They are able to take notes. Those notes are watched over carefully, though, by sheriff's deputies. They're constantly being watched by these deputies to make sure that nobody is breaking the jury rules for a fair trial. In OJ's case, all but one juror was replaced. All but one, you guys. So whenever they seat a jury, they always have an alternate jury. So as they're picking the jury that's going to hear the case, they're side by side picking another jury that will be 12 other people, so that when things happen throughout the trial, jurors sometimes get sick or things happen and they end up being removed from the jury for whatever reason. They have to have someone else to take their place. So these 12 other people are sitting in the courtroom listening to the case just like the jury would be listening. And that's how that works. And then if they get called to be the alternate to go in place of the juror, then they're ready to go because they've been listening. It's kind of like an understudy in the movies or in the theater. You have somebody that can take that prime place. So I thought that that was very interesting that one of the jurors said that by the end of the trial, they had forgotten a lot of the evidence that had been presented at the beginning. And it was very, very crucial evidence because it was DNA evidence. The look, vibe, and the personality of the attorneys, the jurors in that case almost developed an instant dislike towards the lead prosecutor, Marcia Clark, because they didn't seem friendly and seemed to have an attitude. The jurors described her as being talking down to them and being very flippant in court. And they didn't like that. They did not like that. So they just didn't care for her right off the bat. I think it's going to be important during this trial in Delphi to be aware of the jury's mental health, and hopefully the court will keep that in mind. What are you curious about, Louisa? Can a judge arrest someone? No. Judges don't arrest people. What a judge can do in court is they hold people in contempt of court. If they don't, when you hear people talking about the court as an entity, that's the judge. The judge is the court. And he can hold people in contempt and put people in jail. Yes, he does have the authority to have someone arrested, but he does not arrest them. He doesn't do that. Hey, Tech Death, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. We want to make sure that we have jurors who listen to the jury instruction. I think that that's what a lot of people out here in mainstream America and in a lot of the chats and subs and, all the groups and stuff, they don't understand how hard it is to be on a jury. I sat on a grand jury, you guys. I've sat on a petit jury. My grand jury service was the most stressful but amazing time of my whole jury experience. Let's put it that way. I was the foreman of that jury. And it was crazy. We met every week for 16 weeks. And it was a lot. And we heard a lot of cases in that 8-hour day that we would put in. And it is very stressful. But what people don't understand is this. Sorry, my nose is bothering me. When you guys hear, I know you've heard this, Doug Carter has said it so many times, standing before us at press conferences. It's not about what we think. It is not about what we believe. It is about what we know. As a juror, it is not what you think. It's not what you believe. It is you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt with the evidence presented in a court of law to convict someone. And so it's like, yes, grand jury is 12. And so we had a lot riding on some of our cases. They were some really big cases, and people were looking at going away for a long time if we indicted them. And when you realize that you've got these people's lives in your hands, you have to be very careful and you have to really listen to the evidence. It's not about listening to the news media give you a narrative of a story, or listening to a Nancy Grace story where she's throwing all of these things and all this speculation at you and telling you the person is guilty and needs to have the electric chair or the key thrown away on them. That's not what this is about. This is about sitting in a court of law and listening to the evidence that is presented by the experts and by the prosecution and the defense. And you have to take your mind away from TV shows. I mean, I cannot tell you how many people on the jury I sat on for grand jury thought we were conducting a law and order exercise and that we were on TV. I'm like, this is not television. You can't ask for things that have not been put into evidence. You can't go into open court and ask to see this, this, and this if it's never been brought in and been put into the case and entered as evidence. You can't go ask for these pictures or these street maps or whatever it might be. And people don't understand that. It really pays to kind of get educated on court systems and how they work. And the other thing to realize is that every state has their own rules. It's different from every state. So it's not what happens in Indiana and in their court system can be completely different than what happens in California in their court system. So that's why over, I don't know, 6 months last year, I spent going over juries, deliberations. I went over a grand jury, what it does. You can go find those live streams and videos on my channel. But I go into great depth and talk about the laws in Indiana, how all of that works. And I just think it's important to help you understand the whole process here. But I do think, because we're going to be looking at a sequestered jury, because I don't believe that they're going to be close by. I'll be really surprised if they were to pick a jury from really close by. Gull, Frances Gull is the judge in this case. And she just this past over a week ago, when he was in court the last time, she expressed skepticism that Richard Allen's trial would be able to be on track for March 23rd, as it has been scheduled. She said that the extraordinary voluminous evidence in this case alone that has to yet be turned over to the defense is going to not allow that to happen. And the defense agreed with that. So when I stopped and heard those words, extraordinary voluminous evidence, extraordinary voluminous evidence, what does that tell you guys? It gives me hope and leads me down the road that they've got the right person and they will be able to prove it. I do know that there is going to be a lot of evidence to have to be gone through because the case is 5.5 years old. So there's a lot of reports and there's a lot of people interviews, experts, search warrants. I mean, just everything you can think of, medical reports, lab reports, ballistic reports. I'm trying to think of all the other things that would be included in the murder book, but there's just so much. And all of that has to be looked at page by page, by item by the defense. And then they have to go through and do their own investigation. They're going to want to send out their own investigators to investigate all of that. They're not going to take the prosecution's word for anything. And so that all takes time. And once they do that, and they've gone through all that, then they're going to have their own experts go back through the evidence and try to disprove the evidence and shoot it down. There will be many motions, I'm sure, brought before the court by the defense to state that this particular piece of evidence shouldn't be allowed in the trial. They may say something to the effect that it's prejudicial to their client. There's going to be a lot of that. We have, I've been watching a lot of coverage on Idaho, obviously, and the 4 murders of the students. And someone was just talking about this, about all of the online conversations that have gone on about Idaho and this suspect and this POI. It doesn't even compare to what we have with Delphi and all of the online conversation and speculation about this POI and that POI. I guarantee you they're going to be looking into all of that. They're going to be looking into the Kleins. They're going to be looking into everybody that was there that day, flannel shirt guy or, whoever. They're going to be looking at everybody that has been associated with the case and that could possibly have the spotlight turned on them, where the defense attorneys will stand up in court and say, but Your Honor, what about so-and-so? Why are we not looking at them as a possible suspect for this crime? Because they had better opportunity than my client or our client, whatever. Even though Richard Allen has placed himself on that bridge, on that day, in those clothes that match, he's done all those things himself. Now, we all know already that when they asked him about why that shell casing would be between the girls and match his gun, he had no explanation. None. He told them he had no idea how that would happen, but he did know that he never loaned or gave his gun to anyone. So that's going to be a big bone, so to speak, of contention. And you can guarantee that the defense will be all over that. And the other thing too I wanted to talk about real quick was the Indy Star did an article on this case about what we know so far. And I thought it was a really good article. Hold on 1 second and let me get it up here. It's they posted it on November 29th of 2022. And, they said basically this, that, more than 5 years has gone by. We know that. And this was after the affidavit was released, And as they put it, even though the document sheds a lot of light onto what happened that day, we have so many questions that still remain. The searchers found their bodies the next morning on the 14th of February, which was Valentine's Day. And we know they found them in the wooded area on the north side of the bridge, not far from the Monon High Bridge. And Richard Allen has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder in the deaths of Libby and Abby. We know that. We know that unspent bullet was found between the girls and that it matched Richard Allen's firearm when the ballistic tests were ran on it. I mean, within 2 feet, you guys, of the girls' bodies. And the firearm was located by authorities and by investigators at Richard Allen's home during a search that was conducted on October the 13th. It's pretty damning. Allen purchased that firearm in 2001, and he came to the Indiana State Police post voluntarily on October 26th. When he spoke with investigators that day, he stated that he had never allowed anyone ever to borrow or use his gun. When asked again about that unspent bullet, he did not have an explanation of why the bullet was found between Abby and Libby. He again admitted that he was on the trail, but he denied knowing Abby or Libby and denied any involvement in their murders. There was no cause of death mentioned, of course, in his affidavit, so we still do not know how Abby or Libby were killed, and it's still one of our biggest mysteries. It does not give a cause of death or explain how the girls died. And the affidavit does tell us that both of the girls were killed on the north banks of the Deer Creek as they were reported since February of 2017, February 14th. And they did tell us that there was a gun heard in a widely circulated video. A video that was taken by Liberty German on the day both of the girls were killed and was published and distributed by investigators. And it showed this man in a dark blue jacket or dark jacket and jeans walking behind them on the Monon High Bridge on the trails east of Delphi. As the man in the video approaches the girls, one of the girls says, "Gun," according to the affidavit. And police first released this grainy image of the suspect from that video, remember? And they did that the day after the girls were found. A week later, they released the audio of a man's voice saying "down the hill." When they first released the picture and that grainy image, they said they only wanted to talk to him because he may have information regarding the missing girls. And that's when a week later, that's when they released the audio of the man saying "down the hill." The longer version of the same smartphone video was released later in 2019, in April 22nd to be exact. And it shows the gait of the man as he was walking on the bridge. And Doug Carter told us, pay attention to how he walks. As well as a longer version of audio where he can be heard saying, "Guys, down the hill." We know now that witnesses told police that they had passed a man on the trail the day that Abby and Libby were killed, and that they remembered seeing a car parked in a lot nearby. Turns out to be the old CS building. And one of the three witnesses described the car as a PT Cruiser. Another described it as a small SUV. And a third witness described it as a smart car. And that was all put in the affidavit. And investigators believe that those descriptions are similar in nature to a Ford Focus in 2016. And one of those specific witnesses, you guys, described passing a man along the trail who wore a blue colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. This witness, she further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight. This was in the affidavit, so this is something that we know. Only one of the witnesses described muddy and bloody clothing. One witness said the man was wearing blue jeans and a blue jacket. As they passed the man on the trail, a member of the group said hi. The man glared at them. One of the witnesses said, according to the affidavit. Investigators believe that after the victims were murdered, Richard Allen returned to his vehicle by walking down Carroll County Road 300 North, according to the affidavit. And that is what we know. Those are the things that have come out in the affidavits. And there is a lot that we don't know. There's a lot of speculation on time, to be exact. But I do think the affidavit was pretty close in what they were talking about as far as time. And you know what's so funny? I watched a content creator this past week talking about the timeline, and they actually had Derek arriving at the trails around 4 o'clock. They don't even have their timeline right. So you'd really have to be careful when you're listening to some of this stuff that's being put out by some of these creators, because the affidavit is very, very specific and very, very clear. Their timeline pretty much, I think, rings true to what Becky has said and Kelsey all along, as far as what they knew. When Derek called Libby to let him know that he was crossing Wilson Bridge and that he would be there shortly, and that they should, head up to the drop-off point so that he could pick them up. And that was around 3:15. And it was speculated way back when, before Richard Allen was ever arrested, that Bridge Guy was still in those woods when Derek was there searching for the girls. And I think now we know that that's true. He was in those woods, because it doesn't seem like he left until sometime around 10 to 4, 3:50. So I have this video that I want to show you guys. Hold on one second. Let me get it up. And again, I'm showing this to you because my good friend, the Inquisitor, has allowed me to show it to you tonight. It is on his channel, and he has a wonderful Delphi channel and other channel. His cases that he covers is amazing. If you guys haven't heard of him, please go check him out. Make sure you subscribe and share his content, because It's really worth it. I'm going to post his his channel in the chat. And so there it is, the Inquisitor. So here we go, guys. Let me share my screen with you. So this is from 2019 in November. So just for to remember before we start watching this, on April 22nd, 2019, that was the big presser where they had the change of direction, where, Doug Carter stood up there and spoke to Bridge Guy directly and said, we know you never thought we would change directions, but we have. And all of that was said. And this was in November, the following November. Richard Allen is known that he would go to JC's bar a couple of times or more a week with his wife, and that they would play pool. They were in a pool league. And so anyway, let's watch this, you guys. It's a little bit grainy, but you can catch the whole thing because it's 28 minutes long. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to watch a bit of it. And you'll get to see him for a while, and you'll also get to see his wife. I'll point them out to you as it plays. Let me know if you guys have trouble hearing. You're not going to hear much video or much audio because it's really noisy. You're going to hear a lot of country music. So yeah, it's really interesting. No, Rachel, I don't think it's that at all. In fact, I know I'm not. I've been tested for it because I have allergies to everything else. I think it's because, I don't know, it starts to happen when I'm live. I think it's nerves, maybe. I'm not sure because I don't do it except when I'm live on air here recently. So I'm not sure why. Okay, here we go. This is Richard Allen right here. This is Richard Allen right here, you guys. No verbal, it's 2 years. 2 years after. Close to 3 years. And that's his wife, you guys. That's his wife right there. You guys can see my mouse? That's his wife. She's got the dark hair and the white top on. And that's Richard Allen standing right there. You guys can kind of see this bulletin board that's right over here. That's the bulletin board where he was sitting on the chairs where you could see the Bridge Guy wanted poster. And that's over here on this bulletin board behind this bar area. This bar area right here has bar stools, and they set up here and watch these guys play pool. And there's all kinds of pool tables. There's one back here. It's a big pool hall. And so this particular table, I think, is where they have the really bigger matches. And that's why they have this seating like this here. Yeah, he's amazing. It tells me when you see him and his wife right here, that's his head, that's her head. He is about 5'6" or 5'7", you guys. Absolutely, that is his height. You'll see it more when he comes, but he's going to come back over this direction, so you will get to see that. That's for sure, Rachel. Absolutely. Now here he is, guys, right there. And I now if you can kind of see right here, he's standing. He steps back out of the spotlight from here, and what I noticed is he's smoking. And I can't, I mean, I've watched this whole thing a couple of times, but I thought it was interesting. It looked to me like in this particular video, he's gained weight already, quite a bit from what he was in the fall of 2016. We have the video of him in the fall, like in November of 2016, playing at this same pool hall where he was much thinner than he is here, where he was seen hopping around and joking and singing. So, but one of the things I got, you guys, and I don't know if you have heard this or got this or not, but I didn't know that he smoked until I saw this video. And now we know that he smokes. They collected a cigarette butt at the crime scene because we remember them calling over the RTV6 helicopter feed where they were heard calling for evidence bags because they found a cigarette butt. How would that be? I know everybody thinks, oh, there were people out there smoking. They weren't smoking around where the girls were because nobody found them until the next day. Yeah, verbal judo. I'm 5'7", so he's my height. And there was another person that just posted, and I can't remember his channel, but he just posted a video of him, his booking photo, where he's actually standing alongside the height hash marks, and you can see that he's 5'7". Um, I'm going to stop it for a second and answer some of these questions. So, um, definitely, the whole, I'm not sure, Rachel, what you mean by the magic bullet. But what I was talking about, the smoking bullet, is I think that that's going to be one of the biggest and most important pieces of evidence that connects him to the crime, because we have an unspent shell casing that has the marks on it, that the marks match his gun. And that's pretty doggone damning, in my opinion. As far as is there audio? Only the audio that you can hear. There's no audio of him talking on this. We don't hear him speak. I know he's talking to some of these guys. He talks to this guy. There's another guy that comes from back over here. You'll see in a little bit, along with his wife, and he talks to him. But I don't see him talking to much of anybody else. In fact, at one point in this video, he moves away from here and comes over here to the end of this bar and sits by himself, like up against the bar, and doesn't really talk to anybody. So we'll watch this for about 10 more minutes, guys, and then we'll be done. I thought it was super interesting that he stood here and hugged this pillar. He just put his arm around it and stood there. I thought that was interesting. But he's very much isolated, not talking to anyone. And his wife's off talking to a whole bunch of people. So this is his wife here. And he's hugging this pillar. He's got both hands and arms around it. Bingo. I agree with you, JDR. Hey, Kiwi, how are you? Good to see you. And that's their table, I think, over there. And he goes to put his cigarette out. And now he grabs a beer and he's standing here with a beer. Oh, verbal, I'm sure it signifies a lot. Um, I I I hear you, Mindy. I've never seen anything like it. Seriously. So there he is drinking his beer. Most definitely. I think you're right. But this, you guys, they're in an actual, this is a pool league, just like if you were in a bowling league. They play pool with these people every week, and he's not talking to anyone. Well, he's innocent until proven guilty, Melissa. So that's his wife with this other guy, and then now she's leaning on him. So we'll watch just for a few more minutes and then we'll quit. All right, guys. We'll stop there. If you guys want to watch the rest of it, you can go to Inquisitor's channel and watch it. I'll have that posted down below in my description. But I just thought that, hey, CJK, how are you? I thought it would give you some idea about seeing him in a social setting, and how he was. I found it quite interesting from a psychological standpoint, looking at him that way and how he was. I agree wholeheartedly that I think he was being quiet on purpose. I would have to say, from every, hey, French 6290, I wonder if he's always been that way or if this was something new since 2017, since February of 2017. So, but is that what I think that is? It's, it's really easy to look at someone, from the outside and not really know exactly what may or may not be going on. I will disagree with the notion that his wife knew, because I think that we know for a fact there are so many instances where that's not true. We have Gary Ridgway, who was married, um, and his wife had no idea that he was the Green River Killer. We have BTK. His wife was completely oblivious, along with his children, that he was BTK. And so I absolutely do not believe that his wife would have known. These people and these types of killers are very good at hiding in plain sight, and blending right into society. And I think it would be really interesting to hear, from people who worked with him, whether it be at Walmart, CVS, wherever, to find out what kind of person he was. But the picture we have of him on laying down on the counter, thing at Walmart, That looks like a guy who was having fun at work. And I wonder if his demeanor changed after February of 2017. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, of course, she may very well notice, I would think. Yes, she is, Rachel. Carrie is very amazing. She has gone through a lot, and she really has come out on the other side. It's good to see her on Twitter trying to do good to help others that, have gone through horrific trauma. Um, and it's okay, Melissa, to feel that way. Just keep an open mind and listen to the evidence. Look at the evidence, and if you can explain away why he would have been there and on that bridge a few minutes or very, few minutes before the girls, where would he have gone to get away to where he wouldn't have been the person that confronted them? At this point in time, there's nobody else. They've not arrested anyone. And we don't know that there's anyone else involved. Oh, Pigeon Mac, go have fun. I hope you have a really good evening. It's just really important, and we're not going to always see the cases exactly the same. And some of us will feel one way, and some of us will feel another, and that's okay. It's just like I said, it's just keep your eyes open for those facts and make sure that you're looking at all the facts when you're making your determinations. I'm going by what I see as far as evidence, and I feel that they have good evidence. And it makes me feel comfortable when she talks about the voluminous amount of evidence in this case. So, but I will be happy, like I said, to see what happens at the bail hearing next month. That's coming up really quick, you guys. Just a few weeks. And we will know a little bit more because there will be some arguments made for bail. The prosecution is going to speak in court and talk about why they don't feel he should have any bail. And then, of course, the defense will be able to argue why they feel he should. Yeah, Pigeon, have a good evening, my dear, and be safe out there, okay? Good night, Rachel. Have a good evening. So yeah, that's what I wanted to really share and talk to you guys about, because I really thought that it was interesting. I was shocked when I saw it because I hadn't seen anybody else post it. I knew that they went there often. So I was glad that I got to kind of be a fly on the wall and kind of just sit back and watch. But I do think that the bullet in the casing is going to be huge in this case. And I think it's not something that's easily explained away, especially when you have him himself saying, I never loan out my gun. I know nobody ever has my gun. Then how did your unspent casing get at the crime scene? So, but anyway, you guys, I hope you all have a wonderful evening and a great rest of your weekend. And please make sure that you subscribe and hit their like button. Thumbs up for me on your way out. That is the best way that you can support my channel. I also accept donations at PayPal, and I also love it when you guys buy me teas at Buy Me a Coffee. So those are ways that you can support me. I appreciate it so much. I just did my little blurb video for I've had my first year, completed my first year on YouTube. It was an absolutely phenomenal year. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would be where I'm at right now when I started my channel. I believe that I've built a really wonderful community here with all of you. And I look forward to what's going to happen this year. I think that we can continue to grow as a community and get these cases out there and more eyes on these voiceless victims. Hey, Deb, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And everybody, make sure you go check out Deb's True Crime Notebook. She has an amazing channel as well. Hold on, I'm going to drop it in the chat for you. Just give me one moment to do that. We all know how much we love her, and she has the best insights as well. And you will not be sorry. So make sure you check out her content as well. And again, thank you guys for coming this evening. It was good to see you all. I will catch you all on Tuesday night. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Good night, everyone. Have a good evening.